Okay, so I stopped at the laundromat to charge my phones because they're almost dead. Obviously, using data and, listening to stuff while I'm walking. I'm also just really emotional. I miss my dog. I really hate that I haven't. I mean, I've given her a life. I gave both of my dogs the best life that I could. It just don't like being away from her. But at the same time, I'm so conflicted because, like, when I first got her, I got her from my parents. I got her as a gift from my parents when I was. I look like shit. I got her from my parents when I was 18. And it was right after I broke up with my first boyfriend. And I was depressed. And they got me the dog because, well, up until I got that boyfriend, I had been extremely depressed and was practicing self-harm. And then when I got my first boyfriend, I started engaging in sex. So I used that to harm myself. But once it was over, I kind of started to fall back into that depression, and my parents were scared that I would start harming myself again. So they got the dog for me as a form of responsibility to keep me protected and keep me safe, and to just give me something to live for. And it worked. I mean, I wouldn't be alive today if it weren't for Maggie. There's been other people in my life that have kept me alive. It wasn't just her, to be honest, but there's been times that she was the only thing that kept me around. Her and Lily. I've had her for 14 years, and the only time I've been away from her was for like maybe 3 months last year. I had to have them stay at my parents' while I was working because they couldn't stay where I was working doing hospice care. And I just worked until was paying off my bills and stuff like that, and then took off with them again. But Maggie's just getting too old, and I don't have a vehicle, so this time I'm going out on foot, and I just couldn't bring her. But it sucks not having her around because I've built so much of everything off of my relationship with her. Like, she's been there for me for 14 years. She's been the only one that I've, had. I mean, I've had other people, but like, she's been the consistent one. She's always been the one that's there. And it's done me a lot of good, but at the same time, there's been times that it's definitely held me back. It's such a struggle. Yeah, there's been times that it's also held me back. And specifically as of late, I've really just been, specifically while we were at the house, I don't know. I've kind of felt the way before. I've always made jokes about Maggie being a cop and a spy, and that my parents like use her to spy on me or to keep me in control or to keep me on a leash. Essentially, that's how I've always viewed her. Not as a familiar, even though she acts that way. I've never had that same bond with her. I love her and care for her deeply. Maggie is one of the most special people in my life, and she's always been my closest friend, but I've also always had a hard time getting along with her in a certain way. We are bonded, but just not in the same way that a familiar would be. Lily and I were bonded in that way. But Maggie, I've always been paranoid about. Maggie's always felt like, just like, and I've always felt bad for her about it. It always felt like my parents used her, to try to kind of keep track of me or to keep me, the way that they wanted me. And like I said, I mean, I'd been depressed my entire life and they're just trying to keep me alive. But I don't know, come this time, it really felt like it was just, having her was just holding me back from being able to actually get into a better position. You know, without support, having a dependent, like, it's just too much. It's just too much. I have done everything I can to care for my dogs as good as I possibly can. I have sacrificed so much in the last 14 years, and especially in the last, like 4 or 5 that we had Lily, just to keep them happy and to keep them safe and to keep them protected and provided for. There's been the accumulative of probably, 6 months of my life, maybe 5, 6 months of my life that I've not eaten because I couldn't afford to, and all of the money that I had was going to make sure that my dogs were provided for. There was never a time they weren't provided for. I would always go without. I didn't have a problem for that. They didn't ever ask to be in the positions that I've put them in. And that's what I hate so much about this, because, like, I know that Maggie's not happy being away from me. I know she's anxious and sad and bored and just sad. I hate that so much. But it's still the best place for her. It's the safest place for her. And it's the only way that I am going to be able to succeed. I can't. I've been at my parents' now for months and haven't gotten anywhere. I've been just trying my hardest to survive emotionally and honestly getting cut down just more and more. It's too much. I can't take on my entire family by myself. And it's just the same old bullshit I've dealt with my entire life. It's just, I worked so hard to get away from it, and to end up back at their house was too much. And to leave my dog there feels like shit. Like because I don't trust necessarily that, I don't know, it's hard. I don't want to say bad things, like they're gonna do bad things to her, but at the same time, like, they don't realize how they are. And I just know that they're not going to give her the care that, like, she's used to, or, that she deserves. I hate it. This shit is hard. It's part of the process of independence means not relying on anyone. When you have dependence, actual dependence, obviously independence is not always easy. I don't know. This has all just been quite a struggle. I'm gonna quit crying and then I'll get back to this.